Hi guys, and welcome back to ISpeakSpokeSpoken.com. My name is James, and today we're going to be looking at the most common mistakes that English learners make, and this is the part 2 of this video. So, if you've done the first part, you will know how we work and you will be ready for this one. And even if you haven't watched it, that's absolutely fine. We can just start from here. So let's have a look at some confusing, similar sounding words in English. So we have plenty of those in English. We are not starved of similar sounding words. And they're very good to practice and get used to, because when speaking, you want to use the right stress and the right kinds of, you want to use the right stress for each word depending on the context and what word you're trying to say. So the word affect can be used in 2 different ways here. So it can be used as a verb and it can be used as a noun. So let's have a look at some different ways of using this. So it's usually a verb and affect is a noun. So with an A, we use this as a verb. So to affect someone, to cause someone to feel something or to feel a certain way, to affect. And we use this one with an A. So can you repeat after me? Affect, affect, to affect. All right. And then the noun form with an E. So an effect, an effect. An effect. Perfect. All right, let's have a look at some ways that this is used in sentences. So a correct form is the movie affected me deeply. The movie affected me deeply. What did the movie do? The movie did the thing of affecting. And this is with the A. So with an affect, affect. You see? And an incorrect form would be the movie affected me deeply, which is obviously using the E here, which shouldn't be used here because here we're using the verb form. Okay, and let's look at the next one. So the effects of the storm were devastating. So here we're using the noun form, the effects. We've got the before, which is showing us we have a noun here, and the effects of the storm were devastating. And an incorrect form here would be the affects of the storm were devastating with an A, because that has to be the verb, right? Let's now have a look at some pronunciation. And throughout the video, you will see these words that have the red bits next to them. These are the transcriptions of how the words should sound. And I will go through each of these with you. And if you just repeat after me and you will just keep practicing, you can rewind if you want to hear them again, and you can slow down the video if you want to hear it slowly to practice with. So let's go through them. Number 1, affect. So to affect, affect, affect. Great. Next up, the effect, effect, effect. Good. Here we have this word here. How would you pronounce this one? Right. Deeply, deeply. Remember, get that E sound. E. You can see how this vowel here is prolonged. E, E. So deeply, deeply. Good job. And last but not least, we have devastating, devastating. Can you repeat? Devastating. Good job, guys. Devastating. Next up, we have advice and advise. So to advise someone, which is this one here. So to advise someone means to give someone some advice. This is the verb to advise someone, to help someone. But advice is the noun, and we use this one as I gave you advice. To advise someone is to give someone advice. You see? So when we have the C, we have the noun. And when we have the S, which is pronounced as a Z, we have the verb. So to advise or to give advice. Let's have a look. So correct form is his advice was helpful. So his advice was helpful. Incorrect, his advice was helpful, because this should be the noun. His advice was helpful. What does he have? He has advice. And how is it? It is helpful. So his advice was helpful, not his advice was helpful. Let's look here. I advise you to take this route. I advise you to take this route. Incorrect would be I advise you to take this route. I advise you to take this route. And as you can see, they're very similar words, but to a native ear, they sound like completely different words. When I say advice or advise, they are very different things. And actually, they're very good to practice, because when you're talking to a native speaker, they will know what you mean. But if you really want to sound native or even near native in English, you want to be getting these right. So just keep practicing. Don't stress about it. The best work happens when you're enjoying yourself. So, absolutely. And let's have a look at some of the pronunciations here. So, as I have said, the verb form has the z sound at the end. So, advise, to advise. Can you repeat after me? To advise. Advise. Very good. And the noun, advice. Advice. One more time. Advice. Very good. And here we have one more. And this is a way to get somewhere. It is a route. Route. Okay, one more time. Route. Very good. Very good. And now we're going to move on to the next one, which is complement versus compliment. I know they sound exactly the same, right? But they're used in different scenarios here. So compliment refers to praise, while compliment means to complete or enhance something. So let's have a look at how these are used. So a correct form was, she complimented my work. She praised my work. She said that it was good. She complimented my work. Fabulous. And an incorrect way of saying this would be, she complimented my work. Which actually is, yeah, here we have the difference in spelling. So to compliment something, when you're praising something, we have the IM, and then when you are complimenting someone, as in you're completing or enhancing it, we have the EM. So just keep practicing that. Just write down as many of these that you can find, make sentence-wise, and try and make sure that you're getting the right spelling each time. Because as I said, it has the same pronunciation, just different spelling. And put in the comments which sentences that you've made, because we would love to see them. So she complimented my work, spelt differently, is wrong. So let's look here. So this wine complements the meal. This is correct because the wine is enhancing, it's making the meal even better. So it's complementing. Remember, when we're using this one, we have the EM in the middle when something enhances something. And an incorrect one would be using IM. So this wine complements the meal. Yeah, so you're using the wrong spelling here for the same kind of sentence. Same pronunciation again, wrong spelling. Let's now have a look at some of the pronunciation here, because we've got quite a few words with the red bits next to them. As I said, these are pronounced exactly the same, but let's have a look at how they're pronounced. So, how would you pronounce this word? I've said it quite a few times already, so I think that you can do it. You go first. Compliment. 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 As you can see here, we have the apostrophe and the full stop here. So that means that this first syllable is the one that we stress. Compliment. Compliment. Not compliment, not compliment, it's compliment. Very good. And that is how we make that noise, compliment. Next up we have wine. Wine. And this one we have the A and the I-N, which we have the A and the I here in the transcription, which is I, wine. It's quite a long word there, but we say it quite quickly. We say wine, but it's still got that I sound in the middle that you can practice and you can get better at and just keep practicing with it. Next up, we have this word. How would you pronounce this one? Meal. Meal. Remember, you have that E. You want to stretch your face out as much as you can. So you've got meal, meal. Good job. Next up, we have these two words that once again have the same pronunciation, and those are principal and principal. And yes, so principal can be a noun, either it could be a head of a school, so someone who is in charge of the school. And it can be an adjective, a main, something that is a main something. So there we go. So a fundamental truth, like a main fundamental truth. So the correct answer is here. So the principal announced the policy. So the principal, like the person who was in charge of the school, announced the new policy of the school. The incorrect one would be the principal announced the policy with this different spelling here. So AL should be for the person, the principal. LE should be for the adjective, the someone has principle. You see? And here's another one. The principal reasons for my decision is privacy or privacy. And that is the main reasons for my decision. So that is the way we use this. And as we saw here, AL, once again, is correct for this. So the principal reason for my decision is privacy. The incorrect one would be LE. So the principal reasons for my decision is privacy. There we go. So now we're going to have a look at articles a, an, and the. So a and the are used in quite similar ways and are very easily mixed up in English, and they're very commonly mixed up in English. But with practice and some guidance, you will get them right every time. So firstly, I want you to look up at the top right hand corner of the video, and you can click on the little I that you can see up there, and you can download all of the things that you can see behind me in this video, and you'll get everything there. And it's all free. So you can get it all for free, and you can use it all in your own time, on your own phone, on your own laptop. And if you can't see that I, which is quite often if you're on a phone, you can go down into the description below and you can click the link there and it will be there as well. So don't worry if you're on a phone, we've got you. All right, let's have a look now at a, an, and the. So let's have a look at when they're correct. So I read the book you recommended. So why is it the book you recommended and not a book you recommended? So let's have a look first at the reasons for using each of them. So we use the when we're talking about something specific, something that we know, we can narrow down to one. So, okay, maybe someone told me about this specific book that they wanted me to read, and I read that book. I read the book that they recommended, that specific one. What if someone gave me 10 books that they thought that I should read, and I only read one of them? I could say I read a book that you recommended, because it isn't just one of them. There is multiple, and I've read one of them that is part of that group. So it's a little bit less specific than the. And a and an are pretty much the same thing, but when we're using an, we use an after a vowel. So whether we have a, e, I, o, or u, or sounds that sound like those, we will then use an. So an alligator, an interesting elephant, something like this. We will use an before, whereas we would use a before a consonant, so a consonant. So that is why we use an and a, which can be quite a confusing thing for some people, but just remember a, e, I, o, u, or those sounds will be used after an. Let's have a look. So I read the book you recommended, specific book, yes. And here we have the word specific, right, for what I'm just saying. Incorrect would be, I read a book you recommended, as I said, unless the person had recommended multiple books. Correct, she wants an apple. She wants an apple. Why are we using an instead of a? It's because apple has an a at the beginning, right? So it would be a bit weird to say, she wants a apple. She wants a apple. No, we want an apple because it sounds weird to have a vowel next to a vowel, a apple, you see? And incorrect, she wants the apple because she doesn't want a specific apple, she just wants an apple. Like, she's not worrying about if it's that one in particular. And okay, maybe if there was one apple in the room, she might say she wants the apple that is in the room, like one specific one. It all depends on how specific we're being. You see? Next up, we're going to look at some of the pronunciation here. So we have this word. It's a pretty mammoth of a word. It's a big one. So how would you pronounce this word? Let's split it into a couple of sections here. How would you say this? Recum. Recum. Yeah? And then here we have maybe the end of a movie, ended. So recommended. Recommended. Good job, guys. Recommended. So I read the book you recommended. One more time. Recommended. Very good. All right, next up we have the word book. Book. Practice that sound. Book. Book. Good job. And next up we have the word of an amazing fruit, which is apple. Another problem can be not getting the articles wrong, but it can be the omission of articles or not using articles at all, which in some languages you don't have articles, which means that when coming into English, you might wonder why you need to use them, which would be an understandable thing to wonder. And quite frankly, we just use them. So they're good to learn and to use. But let's have a look at some ways that people get them wrong. So, she has a cat is when someone gets it right. She has a cat. There are many cats in the world, not just one, and she has a cat. When has she got it wrong here? If someone said, she has cat. She has cat. And someone who is learning English may say this, which is, she has cat, which is missing the A. You see? Another one. The sun is shining. The sun is shining. And maybe someone misses the and says, sun is shining. You see, there's only one sun. So we can't say a sun is shining unless we have multiple. We would say the sun is shining. You see. And yeah, as we've said here, we use the with kind of very specific things. So, and we can't use the with general concepts. We can't use the with when there's multiple things and all of that. We just wouldn't say that. So, children are playful. We would say the children are playful. That is another way of missing the article in that sentence. And we should use the in that sentence. You see what I mean? Okay, next up we have a versus an. And let's have a look at sometimes that these are used. So, an apple. An apple. And as we said, it's all about the vowels. So, an, vowel, an apple. Not a apple. You see, it sounds really weird. And yeah, as we said here, that's wrong. Correct one here, a university. U is a consonant. A university, not an university. Not an university. Okay, we have a few words here that we haven't looked at in this video yet, so let's have a look. So we have the word children, children, children. And remember, we are pronouncing the ch sound at the beginning. So practice that ch, children, children. Perfect. And the next one that we have is university, university, university. So another common mistake that English learners make is with irregular verbs. I know, irregular verbs are the bane of some of your lives, but it's okay. And with practice, you will get it. You will really get it. I promise if you practice, you will. So let's have a look at some past tense forms. So he went to the store. He went to the store instead of he goed to the store. So quite often you're taught that the right way of creating the past tense is adding an ed at the end, which most of the time is correct. But in quite a few situations here, including to go, which is a very popularly used verb, we wouldn't use goed. We would use went. So I went to the store. He went to the store instead of he goed to the store. All right, next up, she thought about it. She thought about it is correct. The irregular form for to think is thought. And instead, we wouldn't use she thinked about it, which would, if we were following this rule, would be how we would say it, but we shouldn't. This is wrong. Let's now look at past participles. So the past tense forms are what we would quite commonly say are the second form of the verb. The past participles are the third form of the verb. So correct one would be I have seen that movie. As you can see here, past participles are often used with the perfect tenses. So I have seen that movie. I have seen that movie. So to see, not seed, to see turns into seen in the third form. I have seen that movie. Incorrect would be, yes, I have saw that movie, which would be in the second form, or even worse, I have seed that movie, as I said. Okay, and let's now look at the next one here. So she has written a letter. It's correct. So it's not she has writed a letter or she has wrote a letter. It's she has written a letter. And that's because written is the third form of the verb in English for to write. So let's have a look at some commonly misused irregular verbs in English. Okay, so I have drunk all the water. So this is the verb to drink. So to drink is I have drunk all the water instead of I have drank all the water. That wouldn't be correct because we have drink, drank, drunk. I have drunk all the water because now we want the third form of the verb, the past participle form, as we're using the present perfect here. I have drunk all the water. Incorrect would be I have drank all the water, as I just said. The next one would be to drive. A correct form would be he has driven since he was 18. Once again, this is the third form of the verb, the past participle. Incorrect would be he has drove since he was 18, as we have drive, drove, driven. You see? So he has drove since he was 18, wrong. So next up, we're going to be looking at the conditional sentences. So what is a conditional sentence? A conditional sentence is a sentence that focuses on if this happens, then that happens. You see? And quite often, depending on the conditional sentence, we use different verbs, different verb tenses, and in different orders. So let's just have a look at them and see how they work, shall we? So the first conditional focuses on a real possibility, something that really could happen and probably will happen, you see. So we have we have two different starts of these sentences. We quite often would use if and we use when. And we use these quite a lot in this conditional. So if is used when you're talking about something that might happen. When is used when we talk about something that will happen. We're more sure of it. We're pretty sure that that will happen. So if I go to the shops tomorrow, I will buy a bag. When I go to the shops tomorrow, I will buy a bag. When is much more I plan and I will go to the shops tomorrow. And when I do, I'll buy a bag. You see what I mean? Okay, let's have a look at how this is made. So we use the present simple, and then we use will plus the infinitive form of the verb. So if it rains, I will stay home. If it rains, I will stay home. So that is how we create this form here. And we wouldn't use if it will rain, I will stay home. That would be incorrect because now you're mixing the will in both sentences. However, you can swap the sentences around if you want. So if we have the if clause first, we need to have a comma. However, if we have the I will stay, the second clause first, we don't need a comma. So we could say, I will stay if it rains. And in that sentence, we don't need the comma at all. So when you're writing, there's another thing that is quite often done incorrectly. And it's good to practice that. So write down your own if and when, if and will sentences in the first conditional and let us know how you do. Next up, we have the second conditional. And this is a hypothetical present. So let's have a look at what that means. So, if I had more time, I would travel more. So it's hypothetical because the reason why someone is saying this is because they don't have more time. And if in that hypothetical world that they did have more time, they would travel more. So this is used when people are talking about if their current situation was different, what they would do. And an incorrect form would be, if I would have more time, I would travel more. You see, we're now taking the would and putting it on both sides, which is wrong. We should only have that on the second clause there. And that is how you do that one. And then the third conditional is used as a hypothetical past. Let's see what that means. So, if I had known, I would have called you. I know, lots of perfect tenses here. So what this is used in saying is, if something in the past had been different, I would have done something different in the past. And you remember how when we have the past perfect tense, it is something happening before something else. So we're saying, if this had been different, then I would have done this differently. You see? So let's now move on to something here. So if I had known, I would have called you. And an incorrect form would be, if I knew, I would have called you, because you're using the wrong tense here. You see? I want to quickly have a look here at the pronunciations. So, let's have a look at some of these here. How would you say this word? I actually just said it while asking. How would. Keep pronouncing after me, because that is the best way to really improve your pronunciation. Would. Good job, guys. Travel. Can you say this one? Travel. Good job. Okay. We have this one here. How would you say that one? Known. Really good job, guys. Really keep going. You're really getting there, and I'm sure that your pronunciation is spot on. And if it's not, just keep practicing. Like, you have this video, just keep going back and practicing. If I knew. Exactly. Fabulous. All right, now let's move on to word order in questions. So, in a question, we have an auxiliary verb quite often, which is a verb that is used to support another verb in the sentence. And we use quite often do as an auxiliary verb when we're asking in the present simple. So we would say, do you understand? So to do is used as our auxiliary verb. And an incorrect way of saying this would be, you do understand. Because you can see our word order should not be this way, it should be that way instead. It should be at the start of the word if we're asking a question. That is the important thing to remember. If we're asking a question, put that auxiliary verb at the beginning of that sentence. So when we're using question words, the auxiliary verb actually follows that question word. What is a question word first? A question word are words like who, what, when, where, how, and things like this. So let's have a look at how they are used here. So you will use what did you do? What did you do? So did is our auxiliary verb, and we want to use what before the auxiliary verb. So what did you do instead of what you did? What you did. It's not correct. We use what did you do? You see? And that is because we have actually missed out the main verb and instead not used the auxiliary verb as the auxiliary verb. We've used it as a main verb instead, which doesn't make any sense in this sentence. Okay, and let's have a look at subject questions when the subject is the question. So when the person is the question and you're asking who that is. So the auxiliary verb is not used in this kind of sentence. So who wrote the book? Who wrote the book? We wouldn't say who did write this book. We're saying who wrote this book. Remember, when we have a subject at the start of our question, we do not want to add the auxiliary verb in there. All right, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you followed along. And if you haven't, you can go back to the beginning. You can keep following along. As I said, you can slow down the video, really get it slow and just keep practicing. You can also go up to the top right-hand corner and click that little eye up there, and you can get all of the resources that you've seen behind me here, all for free. And if you're on a mobile device and you can't see that up there, you can go down into the description below and click the link and get it all there. So I've been James and we've been ISpeakSpokeSpoken.com, and joyfully